My Hero
My
Academia.
discussion number 2.
Yes. So, what do you think, Thurman? What's your first thoughts on this chapter? Lots of
This chapter
yeah.
was pretty. This chapter got me thinking. Got me a little bit more basis of All Might's character, a One for All character. I mean, and
Yes.
I'm just gonna jump right in and say what I think about
Oh
him.
yeah, this chapter is very great for like developing One for All as a villain for sure.
Yes. So One for All reminds me of Hitler combined with Stalin.
That's a strange. Do you know anything about history? You don't strike me as a history buff.
Yeah, history is one of my favorite subjects.
Oh.
So the reason why I say that now he's more of Stalin. No, I shouldn't say Hitler. I shouldn't say Hitler, but I should say more of Stalin because of the way he went about doing this, handling the situations that he did, giving all these powers and stuff like that. It was more so. It kind of reminded me of because I think it may have been a coincidence, but the way One for All does this reminds me of some world leader in history.
Well, I'll tell you. So let me jump in as the more educated of the two here. Yes, that's a dig on you, although it could be a dig on our public education as well. Burn. But no, so like I see the metaphor you're going for there. What he reminds me of, because All Might talked about this. He said that in a time, like imagine the world as it is, like as it is where we're at right now, and then you wake up tomorrow. I know it happened a little bit slower than this, but you wake up, everyone's got fucking superpowers, right? Like, or at least at the, a couple people, a good chunk of people, right? It'd be mass chaos. It's anarchy. It's fucking nuts, right? And you see this in this chapter, like everyone's losing their goddamn minds, and if it wasn't for, some way he did good, because basically he was able to take away powers, give powers. He was able to help society when people were freaking out. When, you have the guy that has this jaw quirk that's like, it's fucking up his life. And he's like, I hate it, I don't want it. And then you have this other guy who's like, I do want it, I want power. And he's able to switch. And he's like, look, I'm doing good. But, and you see, there's this scene where just, it's mass anarchy in the streets, and he comes along and boop, all the powers are gone. And it's like, hey, follow me. This is true. It's sad but true about humanity. Humans like to have someone to follow. Even the most independent people, they look up to something. If it's not a god, it's an ideology. It's some way of living their life. Even ambivalence, like we're talking full-on Shadow the Hedgehog, like nothing is anything and everything is nothing, and I live for full ambivalence to the world. Like even those people believe in something, and that is ambivalence. I think that when their society was just crushed with like, holy shit, everyone's got powers now, it kind of threw a monkey wrench in society that we have now. So right now we have a society where it's like, here, these are crimes. If you do these crimes, you get punished. And that kind of like thinly protects the world from going into mass anarchy. There's punishment for crimes and et cetera, et cetera. But when powers come into play and it's before they're the norm, it's mass anarchy again. A new thing has been thrown into the equation. Anytime there's a new thing thrown into the equation, there's a new power struggle. Think back to when nuclear weapons were first developed. Bam, new power struggle. Cold War, it was terrifying. But now it's the norm. So I think that what happened here was that he came along being able to basically regulate the powers. I can give, I can take away, I can regulate this and kind of bring it under control. And in a way, he kind of helped, but obviously it's just as his brother says in this chapter, you weren't doing it for a reason to help people. You were doing it to gain cronies. That's what you're doing, and I can tell that's what you're doing,
Yeah, and that's where my thing comes in. It's like he kind of, if you're a history buff, he kind of does what if a country like Germany was.
I get your Hitler metaphor because, Hitler came in. He was really good at empowering the people, giving speeches. He started off, and I believe I'm correct in this, he started off with a very, empowering the people, and he motivated people. But then he kind of started sliding in the whole, and also we're the superior race. It was like,
something like that. It was like what Hitler did. And I probably shouldn't mention. I don't know why I put Stalin there, but he was I guess you can say that. But what Hitler did was that Hitler was essentially like intelligent in the regard of he came in like if Germany was in a spot where like they were like America booming and stuff like that, people would have thought Hitler was a maniac. That's just straight up. But the reason why Hitler got so influential as he did was because Germany was in such a state of
It's fucked up for World War One. Their economy was destroyed. You needed a whole wheelbarrow. You needed like a whole wheelbarrow of money to buy one loaf of bread. Like the economy was fucked, and it was all from the fact that after World War One, most every country was like, "Fuck you, Germany. We're gonna make you pay all the debts from World War One," and that kind of just destroyed their country.
Yeah. So essentially Hitler was just one of those lights in a dark tunnel that people couldn't just. Like you had to listen to him. He was
about the only hope for the country, at least in their eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's essentially the same thing here. Like you have this guy who has the ability to literally take and give quirks, like literally hand out powers to you. So obviously, if you're not happy with what you were given, or if you hate if you hate being powerless and weak. Go to this guy, go to this newborn Jesus, essentially, and he'll give you. So so what One for All, as character essentially is that he was the one who people sought for because he had the ability to give and take. His brother is the opposite side of the spectrum. He's like, oh no. What you're doing is self-satisfaction. What you're doing is essentially trying to win over these people by using them in their weakest states.
You're not doing it because he's trying to pretend like he's doing it like, oh, I'm so good. Look at how good I am. And it's like, that's not why you're doing it.
So like, it's very like a flip of a coin type thing situation, and that's why Hirokoshi is fucking amazing. As amazing mangaka when he did this is because of the fact that he kind of put it on two sides of a thing here, because in retrospect, logically, One for All technically isn't wrong if you think about it logically. So what he's doing morally, however, he's fucking psychopath because if he truly wanted to essentially make the world, I wouldn't say a better place, but less chaos. He could do it in such a way to where it would essentially get someone in their most vulnerable state, because humans are liable to become, because like even the nicest person can become the most evil person in the world if they're angry, because emotions are one of the most dangerous things that humans have. Emotions can shape a person's personality. Emotions can change a glimpse of jealousy, anger, happiness, sadness. And that's the reason why humans are so essential weaknesses, is because the one biggest weakness of man or humans, if for the feminazis won't dive onto the fucking comment.
Careful, the word man is still in there though.
Is emotions, and essentially what
I just to put my 2 cents of this, I think emotions can be our greatest strength and greatest weakness. Because if you didn't think if you tried to think with purely logic and no emotions, you'd basically be a robot. You know what I mean? You'd like I'll tell you a fucking decision that pure logic would give you with no emotions. A decision that pure logic would give you would be kill all humans on the planet. Because pure logic says we're destroying it. All we bring is war and death and famine. Pure logic doesn't take into account art and art, music, literature, beauty, good parts of life. So emotions are important as well. But yes, emotions can absolutely be our downfall.
Bro, moment right there, bro. The exact same analogy you were saying, I was gonna say that, bro.
Bro, man.
Prove it. Some Luffy, Usopp, Zoro type shit here.
The trifecta.
I'm really my last thoughts on that is I'm really happy of what Hirokoshi. Hirokoshi apparently has a vision of what type of villain that One for All wants to be, and I'm really happy he's sticking with that. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to move on to let's see here. So there's an interesting part. I guess so. Let's talk about the part where he's actually giving, because we actually see this has been talked about a lot. All Might brought it up, but we actually get to see the part where he gives him a power out of pity, and I think it's a really cool scene. I love that they're like, "Hey, remember that comic we used to read as kids? Fantasy has become reality, my brother." Like, ooh, that was just hype.
It's great. That is just amazing.
For real. So, and then one last thing I want to bring, well, not last, I don't know why I said that, but another thing I want to bring up too is, this is something I find interesting, and I actually have some theories about why this is, okay? So you see that the younger brother is actually talking to Deku, like communicating with him. We're on some fucking like Naruto inner world, like my parents are talking to me after they died shit.
Yeah.
Like, and what's interesting about that to me is that All Might literally, like, he says, well, this is nothing like All Might told me it was like. He specifically said you can't interact with them. You're not going to be able to talk to them, but he is being talked to. So here's my theory on this, okay? All Might said that All for One was a quirk that was passed down continuously with the hopes of eventually it would get strong enough to defeat All for One. It's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger every time it passes, and eventually we'll be able to beat them, right? So the way I look at it is, the spirit of the younger brother in that inner world knows, and he has a feeling that this is the one. Deku's reign as the guy carrying One for All. It will be the one that is. We're finally there. We've reached the peak. It's time. We're strong enough now to try to defeat All for One. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, so because I'm curious. What do you? Because he says. And also he says, by the way, he says you can only manage 20%, and I really just want to call you out for the fact that in the video you said 50 to 60% was your guess in our last video. I don't know if you saw, I sent a video making fun of it where I brought up that part of the video, and you were like 50 or 60%, and I was like, why? How could you? There's no point in guessing. That's such an arbitrary guess. We have no proof, and you were like, well, it's a theory. 20% confirmed. Your theory sucks.
I don't recall that. I've been drinking all weekend.
I literally sent a video in the chat of you saying it.
I saw the video that you sent me, but
and you heard yourself say it and you don't remember saying it. You're full on Trump status right now, by the way. You know how Trump will be like, didn't say it, never said it, never happened.
How dare you? Compare me to that
never
Dorito.
happened. Dorito? No, he's more like a Cheeto.
Orangutan.
Oh my god. Okay, but what do you think about the line here? He says we've long since passed the point of singularity. What does that mean? What do you think that means in this context? Because the reason that I ask is because that's kind of where my thought of like, is he trying to say that you are the one? You are the one that's going to be, like, after all this passing it on, you're the one that's going to be the one to defeat him. Like, that's what I kind of got out of that, but I don't know. What do you think?
So I have to, it's going to take some speed doing over some comprehension here.
That's fine.
But from what I'm seeing here is I feel like it's what it could possibly mean is that they're reaching towards the end, because you have to remember that One for All is still pretty old right now. Like, he's still pretty fucking old.
Well, yeah, so, he should be dead. Like they even said when it comes to age, he should be dead. Like, All Might was like shocked that he was alive age-wise, and they said I'm pretty sure it was and correct me if I'm wrong, because you actually know My Hero a little. I think I'd say a bit better than me, because I just I got into it more recently. But I think that they said he, with all of his like quirk stealing and shit, I'm pretty sure that they implied that he must have gotten a quirk that slows aging or reverses aging or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, from what I'm gathering here is the fact that so could be wrong. This is a theory, but from what he's trying to
know
say,
how good your theories are.
either All for One getting essentially weaker, like weaker as in like not the quirk itself is like getting stronger, but like it's only a certain amount of time before he can keep passing it on because other quirks are kind of overriding the quirk, because the original quirk itself was to pass it off to someone else.
Ooh, that's actually I like that point. That's interesting. Like you might be the last person to have it or something.
Yes, like the original powers quirk to pass it on, that's weakening. You only have to we're losing the ability to for each generation to have a chance to beat him, or it's one of those situations to where like Deku has to be the last person to beat him, or is essentially because you have to remember that Shigaraki is essentially is One For All's protege. Like One For All clearly knows that he's not going to have long to live, and
that's why I liked what One For All did, and that's why when people say I want a prison escape arc where One For All escapes, fuck off. Like one of my favorite moments of that entire scene is the fact that he purposefully went to prison. He decided to get caught, by the way, because that was implied many times that he decided to lose. He decided to get caught.
That's that Bodhi Raja.
He decided to get caught to inspire Shigaraki, and you can see this. Like one of my favorite scenes in the series is when Shigaraki's on his knees. Like he's on his knees, arms down, just in awe and shock at what's happening. And you can see Shigaraki snapping and changing in that moment. Like that was a wake-up call for Shigaraki, the wake-up call that he needed. And another one of my favorite scenes, I say that a lot with my hero, is when All For One and All Might are talking in the prison, and All For One tells All Might, you lost your chance to die. There would have never been a better time for you to die. Deku would have exploded in power. That would have been the best time for you to die. It would have basically, skyrocketed Deku's determination and drive if you died right there. But you chose to live selfishly. That shit, like I love that.
Woo! Some minor academia shit, but yeah. So that could possibly be a thing, because this chapter was actually fairly short this week. So
yeah, I guess. Oh, your charger. Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry. David just came out to get his charger. Final scene here with. This kind of threw me off for like about a second, where because it was showing Sparkle Kid.
Showing David grabbing the fucking walls.
Oh no, well that too. David was coming out drunkenly trying to find his charger, but no. I'm having a brain fart. I apologize. Can you remind me of the name of French Sparkle Kid?
I'm really bad remembering.
Aoyama. Aoyama? Is it Aoyama?
Aoyama?
I think so. I don't know. I'm honestly bad at names. I always have been. But so he's waking up. This threw me the fuck off. I was like, why is it showing him? And I was like, oh yeah, he has neighbors with him. And I just love that he comes into Deku's room and it just looks like some shit went down. Like it looks like he has acidic jizz and he just like blew a load. I gotta be honest.
So
you can't go silent for that. I'm the weird one if you don't laugh at that.
Oh my god! See, this is proof that you so quick to respond, because I was literally I was saying something and you were like, you have to respond to that.
You'll see how long of a fucking pause it is in.
No, motherfucker. Nah, nigga.
You have a second and a half to respond.
No. We're gonna nigga. We're gonna once the video's done, we're gonna fucking see that shit. As soon as you were talking, I was fucking being. So, anyway,
I think it's because you're in Vegas, man. Like the signal has to travel from here up to space, down to Vegas, then from Vegas to space back to Michigan.
Hashtag travel.
Well, honestly, when I call you on like your actual phone, it takes for fucking ever to connect, and I assume it's because you live so far away.
So,
do you not think that it kind of looks like that?
Yeah, it does. It does look like Deku had the roughest sex of his life.
There we go. That's what I wanted. Yeah, no, I'm dirty. I'm a dirty person. I always will be.
So this is probably one of those fighting in your dreams type thing, but so either that or the sheer maybe like a shockwave of all for one kind of went through the room or something like that.
Yeah, no, I assume it was just in his dream. It like, like he full cowl exploded. Yeah.
So it's essentially interesting to see what kind of gift he got. So right now, we don't really know what the first gave him. Maybe it was knowledge of how to control it at 20% or not. So because I feel like what's gonna happen right now is that Deku's gonna have to essentially speed it up and learn how to control like more than 20%. Because 20% right now isn't good enough. Because
Yeah, he's got to make a jump. It's time.
so I feel like it was one of those situations to where like Deku's running out of time. He's gonna have to speed it up.
Agreed. And I have one final thing to say here, and this just goes to how much I love how Horikoshi writes Deku's character, and I hope that he continues to do this. If next chapter the first thing Deku if the first thing Deku isn't concerned about is the fact that his posters and figurines might be damaged, he is not a nerd. He needs like I really hope, like, because it's Deku. He's our boy. He's our nerd. And I'm looking around and I'm like, his All Might carpet slightly damaged. A couple of his figures are knocked over. His posters are coming off. So like, knowing Deku, I really hope that like the first thing next chapter, like, oh shit, my collector All Might figurine. Like, I would love that. Because that's what I love about Deku. I love his nerdiness. Like, and remember, this isn't far off to say, because when he was fighting Night Eye, he was jumping around the room. The reason that Night Eye started to like him was because he took care to not jump on the posters. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a whole thing. Like, when he was jumping around the room, he was like, "Oh, he avoided my posters. He's an All Might fanboy like me." So yeah, I hope that there's like a moment where Deku's like, "Oh shit, my All Might poster."
So is that your theory?
I'd like to see that, because that's something I love about Deku's character. Like when Deku, I think one of my favorite moments from Deku's character recently was when All Might told him that there was a time where All Might fought with support gear, and then he was like Google image searching, like, All Might with gear, All Might with gear. How have I missed this?
I agree.
That's what I love about Deku. He's so fucking relatable in that regard. So I'd like to see that, yeah. But that's just me. Anyway, peace.